Hello everyone, my name is Yubo Kou. I'm an assistant professor from Penn State. With my colleague Xinning Gui, we studied toxic behaviors and how players report toxic behaviors in an online game. Toxic behaviors pose a serious challenge to online games. I've experienced many instances of toxicity firsthand with League of Legends, a team-based game where strangers form teams to compete against one another. Here are two examples. In the first example, the player said they were trying to lose the game from the very beginning. In the second, the player used offensive words to attack their teammates. So what can I do? I can report toxic behaviors. I can select from the 7 toxic categories, click the report button, and then let the moderation system do the rest. Flag is important in the moderation cycle for many reasons. First, behaviors must first be identified by flags to enter a moderation process. Second, flag is commonly implemented across today's most platforms. Third, flag is scalable for a platform even with billions of users. Because it requires a simple click from the user, but it can significantly narrow down the number of problematic users the platform needs to pay attention to. Recent years, we have seen lots of research on moderation, studying how moderators think, how they use tools, and what they do. But there is not so much attention to flag. So in this study, we want to understand how community members actually use flags against toxic behaviors. Our study site is League of Legends, and our research methods are a combination of interview and online data and the semantic analysis. We have many interesting findings in the paper, but here I will just talk about our key finding, which is flaggability. Flaggability is how players actually use flags. In other words, although the game developer expects players to flag what they consider toxic, players do not necessarily do so. Sometimes they flag behaviors that are not toxic, and sometimes they do not flag behaviors that are toxic. Definitely, many times flaggability aligns with toxicity. In this example, the player would report racially intolerant players, but there are also cases where flaggability and toxicity disagree. Next, I will share 3 scenarios. The first scenario is when players flag casual players. In this example, the participant told us that he would flag players who played the game casually and didn't try their best to win. The second scenario is to blame a player for a game loss. The participant said that they would report even if the player wasn't toxic in-game. The last scenario is when players negotiate a flag. This usually happens when players do not like one of their teammates so much that they want their opponents to flag the said teammate. So they want to negotiate with the opponent team, exchanging a surrender for flags. The empirical evidence that we just showed tells us that flaggability is diverging from toxicity, and what triggers this divergence is a highly competitive gaming culture where players care about competition and achievement as their central values. This is what Christopher Paul called toxic meritocracy. In this context, flag is used to facilitate competition first and foremost. And the flaggability and the toxicity overlaps when flagging toxicity could facilitate competition. The current design of flag treats community members as merely data labelers, and in turn, community members don't care about moderation as an important topic, and they are oriented towards meritocratic values. Against this backdrop, designing better algorithms to detect false flags does not solve this dilemma and only is a cat and mouse game. Instead, we argue that it's more important to think about how to engage community members across the full moderation cycle. That's all. Thank you very much for watching this.